Hello and welcome to the second video of German. Here we'll look at German words regarding the vowel sounds of A, E, and I. Hopefully in this video you'll be able to notice the uniqueness of German, mostly in its methods of spelling these vowel sounds. Another thing to remember is that German is fairly consistent, so we can universally apply all the rules we'll learn in this video to almost all German words. Alright, let's begin with the letter A. Now A has a couple of vowel sounds, and the first one we'll look at is A with two dots. As such, A with two dots, and this is pronounced ah, ah. So when you hear the ah sound in a German word, mostly it's going to be spelled with an A. Mostly A. And this happens 90% of the time. It's very common. It's probably, the best way to spell the ah sound. There's only one other option, which is it could be an O. Could be O. But there aren't that many words in German with the O. If there are, then it has to do with a certain German root inside the word, or a German stem, or maybe it could have passed through another language on its way to English. But most of the time it's going to be A. This is definitely more common, much more common. So again, this basically means that if you get a word and you have no idea if it's, how to spell the ah sound in a German word, you would be safe guessing an A, because that's going to be right most of the time. So let's look at some example words. For A, there's Klabberjas, Klabberjas. The J represents the yes sound, but here you have two examples, Klabberjas. Just very simple. It's going to be an A most of the time. Klabberjas. Also Stalag. Stalag. Again, twice. The A is representing the ah sound twice again in this word. So Stalag. In German, a lot of times when the spelling has an A, like if you're looking at the spelling first and then you decide how to pronounce it, most of the time the pronunciation is going to be ah. So instead of this being Stalag, it's going to be Stalag. So it works in reverse too, that ah is going to be spelled with an A, and if you see an A in German words, 90% of the time it's going to be pronounced ah. So, that works out well. But there are some examples where it could be an O. An example is Stas. Stas. And again, with these ones, you would just have to learn it, learn the words that have O representing the ah sound. And once you got those down, once you're finished with those, you can be sure that mostly everything else is going to be an A. So either an A or an O. A definitely more common and the best choice to go with if you, aren't sure. Okay, so that covers the ah sound. So mostly A. And our next sound in German is the long A sound. Pronounced A, says its own name, so it's A with a line over it. This is pronounced A. And here is where German shows off its uniqueness, because most of the time it's going to be spelled with an E. With an E in German. Mostly E. The letter E. In some instances it can be EH. So EH in some instances, again it depends on the German root in it, or some other factors, but most of the time it's going to be E. Just like the last example we saw, E is more common than the EH. So if you don't know, you'd be well off if you guessed an E for the A sound. And let's look at some examples. First of all, for the E, there's Leberwurst, Leberwurst, Leberwurst. Here you have the E for the A sound, Leberwurst. Another example is Beibung, Beibung. So yeah, E is the best way to spell the A sound, the long A sound in German. And that's kind of unique because that doesn't happen in too many languages. Because usually if it does happen in other languages, it happens at the end of a word. Like Greek, like koine was an example with E at the end for the A sound. But in German, it can happen in the middle and somewhat near the beginning. So it can happen anywhere. So that's what makes German unique. But some instances it can be EH, as in Landwehr. Landwehr. Wehr means defense in German, so if you knew that, um, you'd be well off. Also, if you try to imagine this being just an E, like Landwer, might not seem right. Your intuition might not, kind of like that. But again, that would take a while. Like, once you spend a lot of time with German words, um, you develop that sense of intuition if something like looks right or wrong, and that's like really helpful in trying to figure out if it's an E or an EH or other examples as well. That's gonna help a lot. So once you spend time with the words, that'll eventually come. So yeah, EH looks right there, so we can use it, and that's how it's spelled. Another example is Flehmen, Fleh. MEN with the EH representing the A sound. Again, this does not happen a lot. It's very rare, and this is more common. So again, E would be the best choice for spelling the long A sound in German. Okay? Alright, so that covers the long A, which means we have the short A. Short A left. And the thing with German is that short A is a very rare sound in German. You're not going to hear it a whole lot. So that means you're not going to be asked to spell it a whole lot. So it's just A like this, pronounced A, A. And again, the sound is rare in German. So let me write that out for it. Sound is rare. You're not going to see it a whole lot, so you don't have to worry about it too much. But if you do hear it, but if present, there's a slim chance that it's going to be, but if present, spell with just an A. Spell it with just an A. Pretty simple. Just an A. And an example is amarel. And this word, might be an example of why it's not common, because this word is from German, but originally it comes from Latin. So, the sound is not too, the A sound is not too common in German. This one is an example because it came from Latin. It is German, but it came from Latin. So amarel, the A for the A sound. So you're not going to hear the A sound a whole lot in German, but if you do, spell it with an A. That's really the only way to spell it in German. So yeah, we don't have to worry about that too much, but just in case, if you get it, spell it with an A. And that concludes A for us, and we can move on to E. E, the vowel sounds regarding E. There's only two of them. First one is long E, which is E with the line over it, so it says its own name. So this is pronounced E, E, and the rule for it is in German, most of the time, it's going to be IE, and this is one of those characteristics of German that set it apart from other languages. So mostly IE. Okay, so IE is a very, very German spelling for the E sound. Very, very common. It's one of those spellings that, if you see it in a word, you can immediately recognize it and be like, oh, that's German. And, it's a very German way to spell words, and it happens a whole lot. It's very, very common. An example is Wiesenboden. You write it out, Wiesenboden, W-I-E S-E-N-B-O-D-E-N, Wiesenboden, E. Okay, it's a long E sound. Kriegspiel, one of our 10 words. Kriegspiel has it twice. Krieg, spiel. Again, the IE, most common way to spell the E sound in German. However, there's always a catch. If it's in a root or another, like if the E sound is in a root, so if the sound is in a root, And to illustrate this, an example would be all the words ending in politique. Politique. Um, if it's in a root, let me write this like this, like politique or musique. But politique is an example, like politique. It's going to be I, so spell with an I. An example would be Welt politique, because it has politique. And because you know it has the root politique, the I here is representing the E sound. So that's why it's not going to be IE, it's going to be I, because you know it's part of the root politique. So if you know some things like that, like Nacht Musik has the root Musik, you know it's going to be an I, representing the E sound. It can't really be an IE because it's part of that root. Another thing is it could be an I if it comes through another language. So if a sound is in a root like politique, or if it comes through another language, like Real Gymnasium, I'll just write it down here. The Real part is a German word, but the gymnasium comes from Latin. So that's why the I here is representing the E sound. Because gymnasium is not really the German word, real is. So gymnasium is a Latin word, and that's why the I is going to represent the E sound. So again, if a sound is in a root like politique or musique, or if it comes from another language, like gymnasium does, you're going to use an I. Otherwise, almost all the time, going to be IE, and that's the best way to spell the E sound. It's going to work almost all the time if a certain word doesn't satisfy these bottom conditions. Okay, so that's long E. Now we have short E, pronounced pronounced e. Okay, so this is written as just an E, and it's pronounced e. Again, it's gonna simply be E most of the time. Okay, so E most of the time. Most of the time. The only problem we might run into with this sound is the umlauts, because it could be an A if the A has an umlaut. So could be A if it's with an umlaut. So basically the symbol would be A with two dots, which does not mean the ah sound. That's just the spelling. Like if it was like this, that the spelling inside the word, if there's a letter like that, that represents the sound in German. And we'll look at some examples. Also, could be rarely, very rarely, with words with ver in the beginning. So like ver at beginning. So there's probably two words that use for the sound. So let's look at some examples of this sound. E most of the time, just like Beckmesser. Beckmesser. Here you've got it twice, Beckmesser. Also Weltanschauung. I'm going to expose you to some big German words now. Weltanschauung. To use. Okay, that's a big word. Weltanschauung. Also Bremsstrahlung. Here it's at the beginning. Bremsstrahlung. Bremsstrahlung. And Mittelschmerz. Okay, I'm going to try to write it up here. Mittelschmerz. Has that root Schmerz, meaning pain, but here E, all the E's here that are underlined represent the S sound. So E is like the most practical way to spell the S sound. Could be an A if it's with an umlaut. Now, Schwärmerei is an example. Now, this word is very close to me because it's the word that I got eliminated on in the 2012 Scripps National Spelling Bee, my final spelling bee. But this word originally had an umlaut on the A, like this, so it was pronounced Schwärmerei, but now it doesn't have the umlaut, but it's still pronounced like it does. So it's pronounced Schwärmerei with the short E sound, and it's going to be spelled with an A. I spelled it with an E, so I spelled it Schwermerei, but yeah, it's going to be an A because that A formerly had the umlaut. But, the word doesn't have an umlaut anymore, so that's, a little tricky spot. But another example with an umlaut is Götterdämmerung. Götterdämmerung. Here the A does have an umlaut, so yeah, when you spell it, you're just going to say D-A-M-M-E-R-U-N-G. You don't have to worry about saying anything about the umlaut, but because that's there, you know it's, representing the eh sound. And there's not a lot of words with that umlaut, so this is not very common, but it's definitely more common than this rare EH, such as Wehrmacht, Wehrmacht, and the other word is Wehrlight, or Wehrlight. So these are two examples with Wehr at the beginning. The EH represents the S sound. So this is the least common spelling. It's just going to happen with words with Wehr at the beginning. The next, most common would be A if it's with the umlaut, which again doesn't happen very often, but it could. So better watch out for that. Schwärmerei and Götterdämmerung. And the most common way to spell it would be with an E, as in these four words: Beckmesser, Weltanschauung, Mittelschmerz, and Bremsstrahlung. So E most of the time, probably the best way to spell the word. Okay, so that covers E, all of E, and we can move on to I. Okay, now I has two sounds, long I and short I, and we'll look at long I first. So we're looking at I, and we're looking at long I first. Long I is an I with a line over it, pronounced I. This has its own name. And this one is pretty simple. It's spelled E-I. E-I, most common way to spell it, and, again, something that makes German very unique. Now remember, the long E sound, E, was spelled I-E, and the long I sound, I, is spelled E-I. And that's something to remember about German, because those two are some, spellings that characterize German, that I-E for the E and E-I for the I. Very, very German spelling. So E-I is the best way, and it's going to be E-I all the time, except words ending in "ite." So except for German words. Got to clarify that. Ending in "ite," because there's a lot of minerals in German that end in "ite." So I-T-E. With the exception of all the "ite" words, it's going to be E-I all the time. And then you're set. You know it's going to be E-I all the time now. Examples. Example with the mineral and the "ite" is Wehrlight. Okay, so here the I is just for the I sound. Otherwise, it's going to be E-I, as in Heiligenschein. Here, let me make this bigger. Okay, H-E-I, Heiligenschein. Here you have it twice, actually. Heiligenschein. E-I for the I. E-I for the I, Heiligenschein. Okay, so E-I is the best way. Another example is Eiswein. Now this sounds like two English words, I-C-E, ice, and W-I-N-E, wine, and that's what it means actually. It's a German wine. So Eiswein, but in German the I is going to be E-I, and again, the I is going to be E-I, Eiswein. An easy way to remember this rule might be with the name Einstein. Einstein, definitely. Again twice, Einstein. So this is an easy way to remember the rule that the I in German is going to be spelled with an E-I, except for German words ending in "ite," which there aren't too many of, and that's good for us because we know everything else is going to be an E-I. Okay, so that's one of the more simpler rules of German, of long I. So we're done with long I, and we can move on to short I. Short I, which is pronounced I, and it's just noted with just an I, so it's pronounced I. Again, this is not a common sound in German, kind of like the A sound. Very rare sound, so it's a rare sound. A lot of the times, there's more, like if you have the letter I, it's going to represent like the E or the I sound, but rarely it's going to represent the I sound, but it does happen. If you do hear it, it's going to be just an I. Just I. If you do hear the sound in German, and examples are Bildungsroman. Bildungsroman. I really like this word. Bildungsroman. Here, I for the Bildungsroman. Another example is Scherenschnitte. Scherenschnitte. Scheren. Scheren. Schnitte. This is pronounced Scherenschnitte, and we'll learn when we do the consonant videos why there's SCHs and double T's and all that, but focusing on the vowels, we see that I represents the I sound in this word, Scherenschnitte. So you won't run into this sound too often, but if you do, I mean it does happen, if you do, just spell it with an I and you'll be fine, as in Bildungsroman and Scherenschnitte. So this covers short I, and we're done with I. So we're finished with A, E, and I, and we will look at O, U, and some other vowel sounds in the next video. Hope to see you then.